On a warm, golden afternoon at the city's busiest amusement park, where kids ran between rides and laughter floated through the air like music, something happened that almost no one saw. It was small, tiny even. A little boy lifted his hand, open palm, shaking, silent. But for anyone who knew what that gesture meant, it was the loudest cry for help in the world. And that little boy had no idea if anyone would understand, but someone did. Someone nobody expected. His name was Mason Hartley, a quiet 6-year-old with soft brown eyes and sadness behind him that didn't belong in a child. His mother had passed away months before, leaving him in the care of her brother, Craig Rollson, the same man who had promised in court to take care of Mason, but instead turned into a monster behind closed doors. Craig drank, Craig raged, and Mason, small and silent, learned to survive in the shadows of that rage. He didn't cry. Crying made everything worse. He didn't speak up. Speaking up made the anger sharper. That Saturday, Craig dragged him to the amusement park, not to enjoy the day, not to bond, but because Craig had a meeting behind the roller coaster stalls with men who made Mason's skin crawl, men whose voices felt like danger. Craig's hand squeezed Mason's wrist too tightly as they moved through the crowds. Every step deeper into the park made Mason's fear rise, like he was walking towards something he knew he wouldn't come back from. Then Craig stopped to answer a phone call. A tiny moment, a tiny window. Mason remembered something his school counselor had taught him during a safety drill. If you're in danger and can't speak, raise your hand. Someone will see you. He didn't believe it. He had no one. But he tried anyway. He lifted his hand slowly, palm out, fingers trembling. He didn't look at anyone. He didn't dare. He just hoped, prayed, silently begged. And that's when Axel Maddox saw him. Axel wasn't the kind of man parents pointed out as safe. He was tall, broad, tattooed from wrist to shoulder, with a steel-gray beard and a leather vest marked with the unmistakable patch of the Hells Angels. People usually crossed the street to avoid him, but Axel had a story nobody saw. A story about losing his own child years ago. A story that carved pain so deep into him that he spent the rest of his life protecting anyone who reminded him of innocence. He knew fear when he saw it. He knew danger when he felt it. And that trembling hand hit him like a punch to the ribs. Axel didn't run. He didn't shout. He moved fast but quiet, like a storm sliding across the ground. His boots thudded softly on the pavement, sunlight glinting off his chain and belt. Craig only noticed him when it was already too late. Axel was close, too close for men like Craig to bluff against. Craig puffed up his chest, trying to posture. Axel didn't even blink. He leaned in close, voice so low only Craig could hear. No one knows what he said, but Craig's face drained of all color. His grip loosened instantly. Mason gasped softly as air filled his lungs for the first time in minutes. Axel dropped to a knee in front of the boy. His hard features softened, eyes scanning for bruises, signs of fear, pain, or worse. Mason didn't speak. He couldn't. But his raised hand trembled in Axel's line of sight. Axel gently lowered the boy's hand with his own. A silent promise. You're safe now. Craig stepped back, tried to recover his bravado, but Axel had already signaled park security with a subtle nod the moment he walked up. 2 security officers and a park police officer approached quickly. Craig tried to talk his way out, tried to lie, tried to deny. But Mason's small, shaking voice cracked through the air. Please don't make me go with him. Everything changed with those words. Security separated Craig. Police questioned him. Craig's anger slipped through the cracks, making everything worse for himself. Axel stayed by Mason's side, leading him to a shaded bench near the giant swings. He bought Mason a cold bottle of water, opened it gently, and sat beside him without pressure. Mason leaned against him, not because Axel asked, but because Axel felt like the first safe place he'd had in months. Axel didn't move, didn't speak. He just let the boy exist next to him, protected. When Mason's aunt, Elena Briggs, arrived, breathless and terrified, her knees buckled at the sight of Mason safe with Axel's arm around him. She had been fighting for custody for months, battling paperwork while Craig lied and hid the truth. Now, seeing Mason cling to Axel, She knew the nightmare was finally breaking. Axel stepped back respectfully, letting Mason run into her arms. But before he could walk away, Mason darted forward, wrapped his tiny arms around Axel's waist, and pressed his face into the biker's vest. Axel froze, then slowly lowered his hand onto the boy's back. A single tear escaped, one ear behind his beard in the shadow of his patched vest. That hug didn't just save Mason. It saved Axel, too. For the rest of the afternoon, the rides kept spinning, children kept laughing, and sunlight kept dancing across the pavement. But in the center of all that noise stood a truth people often forget. Sometimes the strongest angels come in leather, covered in tattoos, with a past full of scars. And sometimes all it takes to summon one is a raised hand,